Hello everyone, and once again welcome to Hack the Mountains 3.0. On behalf of the entire HTM team, I, Samriddhi, would like to welcome you all to this community-based hackathon where we are regularly conducting such workshops and webinars including HTM Qubits in order to strengthen your skills as developers and to help you perform better in the upcoming hackathon. Today we have with us our sponsors Aditya and Hemantika from Appwrite. Today they will be talking about how to actually use Appwrite in hackathon. Welcome, Aditya. Welcome, Hemantika. Aditya, please, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself a little more first?
Sure. Thank you so much, Samriddhi. Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. I am Aditya Oberai. I'm one of our developer advocates here at Appwrite from India. And I've been around hackathons and communities for about the last 3 years or so now. Um, I am especially really excited about Hack the Mountains because I'm like, aside from, of course, chatting with you folks here, I'm actually also going to be meeting you all in person this weekend at the venue as one of the MLH coaches. So I think it's going to be exciting. I know I was there at Hack the Mountains last year as well, and I'm definitely looking forward to this edition.
Thank you. Thank you. We are very excited to meet you too. Hemantika, please talk a
Yes,
little about yourself.
yes, definitely. Thank you, Samriddhi, and also hi, Aditya. And also, very welcome to everybody. And thanks for making time on a Wednesday evening to come join us and hear us. And this is your first step towards learning. A bit about me, like Aditya, even I am a developer advocate at Appwrite. And like you mentioned about hackathons and his experience with communities, even I come from a similar set of experiences. And to be very honest, a lot of technical skills that I know today, it came by learning on spot during hackathons. So I guess that this is, this is your jackpot to not only meet a lot of people, especially because it's offline. My first hackathon was online, so I did not really get to meet a lot of people, but you're not only getting
Okay,
to meet people, you're also going to learn a lot of nice and interesting and new technologies. So I guess this is a very good opportunity for you, and I'm very happy to be here. Sadly, I will not be there offline, but I'll be hearing all the stories from Aditya. And that's all. Wishing you all the best for the hackathon, and I really hope the best team and the best project wins.
definitely, definitely. It's whether it's offline or online, that doesn't matter. But your presence and the
Yeah,
people who will be joining us soon, they will be the ones who matter. Okay,
definitely.
so what are we going to talk about today? Like the actual thing.
Well, considering we've got a track on Apprite, well, at Hack the Mountains, especially because we've got Apprite joining in through Major League Hacking Tracks. We thought, why not let's come and help people how to get started, right? Let's show how you can set up Apprite on your system, maybe work on a project with it, how well how easy it is to work with. So it's going to be a rather beginner friendly session, where we're going to have a comfortable time throughout. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. So without further delay, I'll let you take the stage. Both of you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you could just bring up our screen once, that would be fantastic. And yes, I think it's there. That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
folks, just while we're just getting started, I want to mention I've got my StreamYard shifted to my second display here on the right. So if I'm looking at the right, it means I'm looking at the comments just to understand in case anyone has any issues or any doubts or queries. All right. Um, yeah. That being said, let's move forward. So, well, of course, as the session says, right now we're going to be talking about how you can get started with app, right? Um,
Yeah.
Starting with a little introduction, we've already gone through that, but once again, I am Aditya. I'm one of our developer advocates, and in case you ever need to reach out to me about any queries around Appwrite, around hackathons, um, APIs development, and so on, you can always do that via my Twitter handle there on the screen. You can also find a lot of my work visible on my website, my portfolio link that's available there. Mantika, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Aditya. So, hi, I'm Hemantika, and even I'm a developer advocate at Appwrite. And below what you see is my Twitter handle. So be it anything, be it career related opportunities, or just having somebody to talk about tech, communities, hackathons, or even open source, be it anything, I'm always just a text away. So yeah, I'll just keep the introduction short for this time, and let's just get introduced to Appwrite. What say?
Yeah. So, looking at our table of contents, we're going to be first talking what Appwrite is, why developers use Appwrite, what sort of problems it solves, after which we'll go into a live demo, then, share some resources around the session we've had, and, following that, we'll discuss how we can stay in touch after this session as well. All right. Yeah. So, first up,
That
what exactly is Appwrite, right? Mantika, I think it's a good question at this point, if I'm honest, considering we've been saying Appwrite
exactly.
so much over this while. Yeah.
Exactly. I think this is the first question that comes up to anybody's mind that, okay, I have heard about app, right? I see that there is a track with app, right? But what is it? And how do I build with it? Or what am I supposed to do with it? So the slide that you see on your screen, it says that it's an open source backend server. Four simple words, but for anybody, it might not be as simple to understand that what it
Yeah.
does. Yeah, and the complexities behind are always there, but for you to use for a hackathon enthusiast or for a student or for anybody participating, it is very easy to use, and you'll see that in the next few minutes. And as the word goes by, so what we do at Appwrite is we help you with the backend. All that you need to do is worry about the front end, that you build everything that your front end needs. Let's say you want to build something, maybe a to-do app, and you have a login page, you have a text box, you have a button, but now what you need to do is you want that button to click and go to the next page, or what you need is the button to click and sign you up or sign you in. So for all of these, there is definitely a set of logic that is included and involved, but what we do at Appwrite is we simplify all of these for you. So basically, the front end is on you and the back end is on us. And the best part is it's open source, it's free, and basically you can self-host as well. So that is what it goes by the definition. And Aditya, is there something that you would love to add?
Yeah, just by the way, there's a big announcement coming out today that you should keep
Yeah.
an eye out for on the Appwrite Discord, and other forums as well. But I think that was a fantastic, um, explanation, right? Like, there's so many services, there's so many uh, areas that we need to keep working on again and again for every single app, whether it's a database, authentication, storage, all of these. And so many redundancies do take up so much time, right? And Appwrite does take care of that. My only addition there would be that aside from client-side applications, whether it's for you the web or your mobile or desktop, we also help out with server-side APIs. So if you're a backend developer like me, fear not, there is something for you as well. You can also use Appwrite to make your life easier.
Exactly.
Yeah. We've talked so much about Appwrite, but it's always good to learn, right, why something like Appwrite or any backend as a service solution would even become necessary, right?
Exactly. So we have a question, and I think this might be your next question in your mind as well. That okay, now that I know what AppRed is, now that I have been introduced to it, but why should I use it, or why should me being a developer even use it? So we have answers in three bullet points for you, and the first is, we have to know as developers quite a few things. Let's say if to become a full stack developer, I need to know front end skills, I need to know back end skills, and there is cloud to it as well. And when I say front end, there's not only one language, one framework, there is multiple, and it keeps adding because the technology is just, evolving and moving so fast, and keeping ourselves updated with just the front end part or the back end part, and so many other technologies that are coming up, is actually quite difficult. So what we have done is, how about you become the master of one trade, and the next the next stream or the next trade or the next development is handled by us. So with Appwrite, what you can do, like I mentioned, that the front end can be built by you and the back end can be on us. So that is first thing that we solve, that we don't want you to jump through many technologies and make tasks more difficult for you. So we what we try to do is make the complex task, divide it into smaller pieces and make it as easy as possible for you. Next, the second bullet point that we have is many tasks are repetitive across all projects. Like a few minutes ago, I did mention about the authentication part,
Yeah,
having a sign up, sign in,
that's
login page. So this
everywhere.
is exactly, it's everywhere. And if you were to do it by the traditional way, you would have to code it all the time. But what if you have something that is already ready for you and you can just go to the application and just few clicks, copy and paste, and bind it to with your code and it's ready. So that is what Appwrite provides. Appwrite provides an SDKs that makes job quite simpler and repetitive tasks easier for you. And the last point is the software, structure on the security is very complex, and it takes years of experience to understand what it really is or what works in production. And the complexities are not as simple as it might seem, from an outer experience. But when you delve into it deeper, it has a lot more. And these are things that generally, if you are to create a full-fledged application, you must keep in mind. But if you're using services like Appwrite, this is something that is on us and you don't really have to think about it. So these are the main 3 points that we, as Appwrite, we try to solve and make things simpler for you.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Essentially, I think probably to sum that up, well, Apple's goal is to make software development a lot less painful, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've talked about how, well, like, what sort of problem we're trying to solve for developers, but how exactly are we doing that? Let's maybe jump a little into that as well.
Yeah, definitely. So we saw, I talked about the first one, I guess, already. We talked about
Yeah.
authentication and management of users as well. But is that all? Is that all that backend has? No, right? There is so much to it. There is database, there is storage, there are functions. And as the word goes by function, it is supposed to make our repetitive tasks easier and shorter and quicker for us. Then there are webhooks, then there are built-in security, geolocation, image manipulation, real time, and so on and so forth. So these are all the services that we provide, and we are, every time, every release that we come up with, we make sure to add more to it so that your task is simpler and easier, and is also, very beneficial for you when it comes to software development. So these are the list of features that we have. And I think as hackers, some of the features that you would love to use is authentication, database, and real time. Because when I was in a hackathon, these are something that I looked forward to. Be it any application that I built, authentication was something that I always had. Databases is something, data is, very crucial these days. So I need to have a database. And of course, that is where Applet database can come to help. And real time, I'll give an example. If you're building a game, or if you're building something that needs the data to be reflected in real time, that is where you can use Appwrite as well. So these are my secret tips to a great hackathon. Aditya, what are your favorite features of Appwrite?
Absolutely. Like, I think database and authentication are fundamental. Absolutely. I honestly love the fact that we've got functions because I've been very, very bullish on serverless and functions as a service solutions in general. I keep experimenting across, whether it's Lambda, whether it's Azure Functions, all of these. And I love the fact that, we've got so many functions runtimes. It essentially lets you write any sort of custom logic you want in Rate, regardless of what's offered, what's not. I think real time is such a big benefit because we've essentially got a full-fledged real time server running around the entire your entire Applet instance. So you can get real time updates of any service essentially at that moment. And use cases of that could include, like, you could end up building a chat app out of that, for example. Um, right? You could get real time updates and of any messages going into the database and get them in real time. It's such a beneficial, really cool thing. Um, Aside from that, I think security is such a big factor as well. And that way, Appwrite is very uh, like security has been a very central focus here, in the sense that, whether it's hashing around passwords, signatures for webhooks, we are ensuring that we're covering, you know any major industry standard that there is around security, to make sure that that's one big worry that you don't have to think about. Aside from these, we're ensuring that only approved domains can connect with, your app at instance. We've got all of those measures in place to ensure that your app is as secure as possible. I'm just looking at the chat. I saw that there was a mention on security, so I thought I'd throw that in for sure. How you can win the Appwrite track is something we can also talk about. And well, just saying, I'll be there at the venue, so you can also talk to me about that then as well. Ideas is something we can discuss. Let's just go into the chat for a second. And yes, by the way, so it's totally free, in the sense that, especially for a hack, you're going to be working on your local devices. I'm going to show you how you can set it up later on as we move forward as well. But yeah, if you're working on your local machine, you can get it up and running entirely for free because it's open source. So yeah. Um, Talking about, as I mentioned, we talked about real time, we talked about all of these different services, but how exactly does that happen on Appwrite, right? So I've got an image of our architecture in an essence. I'm not going to go deeply through it, but like just wanted to mention a little about how you can work with Appwrite and what sort of things go on at the back. So there are a few different ways by which you can connect. Firstly, of course, through the Appwrite console, which means if you self-host Appwrite, you will get access to a graphical interface as well, right? A console that you can work with. We've got our very own CLI, which is actually pretty handy if you're working with stuff like functions and you're working on creating new resources and so on. So, like if you're working with Appwrite, the CLI is going to be a massive help for you. Aside from that, you can connect Appwrite to a web application, mobile or native applications, as well as server side backend applications as well. All of those are options. And the way we do that is we've got our very own API gateway, which lets you connect either via a REST API. GraphQL is currently under the works, but it is definitely there on our plans. So we will see GraphQL support somewhere down the line. And aside from that, we've got a WebSocket server running around as well, which is how the real-time API will work for you. Behind that, we've got all the different functions and services, behind which there's all the backend complexity that you don't need to worry about. Right? This is exactly where the magic happens, because you're not having to build out all of this backend complexity. We take care of all of this, so you focus on just your application. All right. So that's kind of where Appwrite becomes a lifesaver for so many of us. And being a backend developer, I know like how difficult it gets, and I'm happily working with a product that would take away my job in a lot of instances. So it's great that way. Honestly, it's very well developed. It's robust, and you're gonna love it. You're gonna love working with it. Now, of course, I started talking a little about why developers use Appwrite already, because why not? But let me tell you a few reasons here as well. Right. First of all, Appwrite is open source. It is transparent. It's free to use. You can self-host it, whenever, wherever you want. And because it's open source, you can see exactly what's running under the hood. If you need to make tweaks for yourself, you can do that. If you want to contribute tweaks back in case you find any issues, you're always free to do that. There are easier forums to give feedback. So it's definitely pretty healthy that way. Secondly, we are trying to be truly cross-platform, and that's not just when it comes to catering to platforms you can build with. We're talking about where you can deploy as well. Right now, you can deploy Appwrite on Windows, macOS, or Linux-based systems. As long as you get Docker set up on your system, and Docker does support all of these, you can get Appwrite set up on your systems for sure. We've got a bash script for Linux-based systems and for macOS. Well, like for Unix-based systems, we have a bash script. For Windows, we've got a PowerShell script for that. So you can deploy it wherever you want. Data and privacy control is a big factor. And that does tie into the fact that because it's open source and self-hosted, you get full ownership of your data. It isn't owned by some other corporation. You can keep control of it as well. Of course, we are right now coming up with our own managed solution, which is Appwrite Cloud. But if you're self-hosting, you get the option to own your entire data, which is always a big factor, right? When it comes to maintaining the privacy of your information. Next up, we are trying to be as language and framework agnostic as possible. We've already got support for more than 10 different languages and platforms that you can build on top of, and we're constantly trying to add more and more. So we are trying to be as agnostic there. We want to make sure that everyone can build with Appwrite, regardless of their preferences or opinions of or likes or dislikes when it comes to programming languages. And for that matter, if you've not got an SDK for your preferred language, you can also directly use the REST API. So that is definitely uh, an aspect that we've thought about. Next up, developer experience. Developer experience is essential to Appwrite. Like we actually spend a lot of time, hours thinking about stuff like, uh, you know, class names and so on as well, to make sure that the developer experience of Appwrite is consistent and familiar and across our SDKs. Because if I'm honest, if as it might be a fantastic product, but if it's not nice or easy or comfortable to build with, what's the point, right? So developer experience is definitely a very important aspect for us. Appwrite is designed to scale. What we do is, because we're basically right now using a packaged set of microservices which we give through Docker. We've got stateless. Most of our containers that we're distributing are stateless, so you just need to place them behind a load balancer, and they can scale pretty easily. We've got a few stateful containers as well that you'd need to worry about a little more, but we do have a guide that lets you help that lets you kind of get that done easily. So Appwrite is designed to scale both horizontally and vertically, and you can do so as well. Once Appwrite Cloud is out, that's going to be less of a worry because we're going to do that for you. But yeah, it does scale to larger levels as well. And like, just for example, when our real-time server came out, we actually did a benchmark where we sustained 1 million connections on the same Appwrite instance, for example. So it can handle big numbers. Security, as we've mentioned, has been a big priority. So Appwrite is designed secure out of the box. Now, the next part is going to be extremely crucial, especially for all of you hackers, and that is Appwrite is modular and uses a plug and play architecture. What that means is Appwrite plays well with the rest of your stack. If you're using different APIs, different services, Appwrite's not going to interfere with that. There are times when there are pieces of tech that try to lock you in, but Appwrite is intended to fit in wherever you want, whenever you want. It's not going to try and force you onto a specific architecture only, right? Which is pretty beneficial, right? Especially for hackers, because you're going to be using a lot of different APIs for different aspects and different services. Because why not? I mean, I've been a hacker, I do the exact same. So Appwrite is fantastic that way. It lets you use as little or as much of it as you'd like. And yes, a big fundamental ideology that we have in Appwrite is we build out as much as we can rather than use external services or dependencies to do that. And we do this just because we can. What that lets us do is it lets us maintain a very small footprint in terms of size, due to which Appwrite can be deployed on as little as a 2 GB RAM and one single core CPU device as well. I mean, and we've got ARM support as well, which means you could pretty much run it off a Raspberry Pi if you want. Yeah. With that being said, we've talked so much about why Appwrite is great and why Appwrite is nice and what it does. Let's get set up and let's try using it as well, right? That'd be fun. So in this next aspect, that's build with Appwrite, let's go ahead and let's try and build with Appwrite now. Okay. So I'm just gonna create a new little window here. Now, just a little note. I am gonna create an instance on my DigitalOcean um, account here to just because I want an additional environment to work on. But because I want to show it from scratch, I'm gonna take an instance, I'm gonna set up Docker on it, and then go ahead with the Appwrite just to show how easy it is to set it up. But like just by the way, you can do this on your local devices as well. If you've got Docker set up, that's even easier for you now. But I just want to do this because I want to kind of set it up and show how it can be done from scratch. All right. So I'm going to go ahead on my DigitalOcean instance, and I'm going to get us started here. Now, let me just zoom in. I've got my DigitalOcean instance here. I've got a little project under that, and I'm just going to create a droplet, which is essentially a cloud server or something like a VM. Okay. But just once again, you can do this on your local device as well. That is totally okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use an Ubuntu based system, and I'm going to use the minimum spec system that we have, right? I mentioned that a 2 GB RAM, 1 CPU device is good enough to run it. And those are the specs I'm going to be running. So I'm going to be running it at the minimum, absolute minimum requirement that we recommend. My authentication method here for my droplet tends to be SSH keys. You can use either of them, whichever one you prefer. That's all right. And again, you don't have to follow DigitalOcean here for this instance. Once again, this is just because I want to create a separate instance for my own demo here, because Hemantika is actually going to be using this as well to show how you can build. So we're going to use the exact same system. So I'm going to call this HTM demo, and I will create a droplet now. While it's been created, I'll just look at the chat once. Okay, once again, on whether Appwrite is totally free. If you're self-hosting on your own system, yes, absolutely, it's free. If you rent out a cloud VM, then you have the VM or the server charges, but Appwrite's not going to cost you that way. Can we get the Appwrite team at the HTM venue? I'm going to be there at the venue, by the way. So you can talk to me at the venue whenever you want. I'll be there on both days, Saturday and Sunday, throughout the day. So feel free to chat up with me at that point. We've got a really, really cool track prize as well, by the way. The team that wins the Appwrite track at Hack the Mountains, all the members are going to get Fitbits. So it's a pretty cool, prize as well. All right, looks like my VM is set up. So I'm going to go ahead and do two things now. Now, I know that I need Docker to set up Appwrite. That's something I've mentioned already, right? But I can't remember the commands to install Docker Engine on my system. So I'm just going to go search Docker Engine Ubuntu, and I'm going to open that link there for us. Okay. And what I'll do is I will just shift this here for me. Now, yeah, we'll just zoom out a little bit on that. Next thing that I'll do here is I'll open my terminal, because my VM is now ready. So I want to make sure that, I'm able to work with it comfortably as well, right? Uh-oh. Yeah, this is exactly what happens with me all the time when I'm working with these different windows. But yeah, we're good to go. So let me just quickly go ahead and SSH into my VM that I've created. And now it's essentially almost the same as me working on my own system, because I'm just going to be working through my terminal here on this VM. All right. So if you were on your own system, this is exactly what you would be doing, the steps that we're going to follow here. Okay. So first things first, in order to set up Appwrite, what we need is, Docker installed, right? Now this is a fresh VM, so I don't need to uninstall any old versions because there aren't any old versions. But I'm just going to follow the documentation to set up Docker here. First thing we do is we go ahead and we install, set up the Docker repository, which we need to update the package index that Ubuntu has, and I'll install all the Docker relevant packages. Okay. Next up, we need to add Docker's official GPG key. Now, this could be a process that slightly varies across distros, but the good thing is Docker has documentation for all of them. If you're on Windows or Mac OS, just install Docker Desktop. That's going to get you set up entirely for this process, by the way. Next up, just a final setup for the repository that we need. So now our system is set up to install Docker Engine. The repository needs to be set up before to make sure that it can actually run the latest version of Docker. So let me clear this up once again. So it's just going to update and install Docker for me now here on my system. Fortunately, because it's a VM, it does that pretty quickly because, those data centers have good internet access. Yep. But it's gonna quickly just install this up for me, and after that we can run a little test to make sure that Docker is working for us. All right. So, yep, we're gonna restart that. That's not an issue. Looking at the chat, Appwrite is absolutely friendly with React. By the way, the demo we show after Appwrite is set up, the project that we're going to use is a React-based demo to do app. Okay, so yeah, Appwrite is pretty friendly with React. Now, just to test that Docker is set up, we're going to run the Hello World Docker image that is available. Because it's not available, it's going to quickly pull that for us. Now, after your process and after running this test command, if you see a hello from Docker and this message here, it means your Docker instance is running properly, which is perfect for us. All right. Now, the good thing is we can just um, well get this up and running and remove that page for us now. And if you notice, if I reload this, we will see that there's a difference on this VM because there was actually something happening on the VM, right? Just is always something I like to show and I like to see. We're going to see a reload on the CPU usage and on the load and memory, all of that, because Docker is installed. Now, let's go ahead and let's get Appwrite set up, right? Because obviously, in order to work with Appwrite, we need it set up here as well. So we're going to quickly go, click on Get Started. And as I was mentioning, we've just had a new release come in, which is Appwrite 1.0. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste the command here. And we're going to install Appwrite on our system now. It will take a few seconds because it's pulling all of these, our Docker image, all of that, but should be quick enough. By the way, in the meantime, if you want to get started with web apps, we've got the next steps available here as well. This takes us directly to the documentation that lets you know. And by the way, this like for our React dev here, this is exactly the page that you'd go to. All right. So this has all the information on how you can get it set up, including installing the SDK, initializing it, making your first request, all of that. All the information you need is going to be available here. You can also find installation information on the documentation as well. And by the way, we've got a one-click setup for DigitalOcean as well. I just wanted to show it manually so that someone who's working on their local system, in case they want to have a look as well, this would work perfectly for them. But yeah, so once your Appwrite installation is there, you're going to have a few setup commands. My recommendation is let everything be at the defaults for now because, the ports, I would definitely recommend not changing. For the API key, you can change it and keep whatever you want. I'll just let the default be. For the host name as well, right now we're leaving it at localhost. So if, for example, you'd run it on your local system and you'd leave it as localhost, if you'd go to your local host in your browser, that's how it would work. But because we're on a VM, we're going to be able to access it through the VM's IP address because of this purpose. This is also the option you would use in case you were adding a custom domain of your own. All right. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to, since we've added all those defaults for now, it's just going to run our Docker compose command to set us up now quickly. As soon as it's complete, we'll get a little notification after which Appwrite should be ready to go, should be good to work with. All right. All right, looks like Appwrite is installed successfully and ready to go, which means I can use this IP address here to access it now. Right, which is awesome. Appwrite is set up for us. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop my screen and hand over this IP address to Hemantika, who's going to take you forward now to show how you can play around with the Appwrite instance. Hemantika, I sent it over in the
Yeah,
private chat.
yeah. Thank you, Aditya. That was a wonderful demo. And now
Thank
what
you.
we'll see is from the hacker point of view. So what we have is we have Appwrite installed already. And now Aditya has also sent me over the IP. So I'll just simply click here. So let's say we are a team of two
Um,
people and we are
I'm
building
I'm not
something
sure
with
if it's
Appwrite.
just me, but I think we're still waiting for the screen to show up. Okay, it's up now.
And
Yeah, it's
great,
just a
great.
delay
Thank you.
there. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So now what we'll do is we'll see it as a hacker point of view. So Aditya and me, we are on a team, two people. We are trying to build something, and what he has done is he has created a VM, spun up Appwrite, and it's running. He has sent me the credentials, sorry, not the credentials, but the IP address. And now I am the second teammate who will be building with Appwrite. So once your friend or anybody on the team has set that the first step, as Aditya showed, this is something that you will get, and this is where you should be creating your account. So for me, I'll just be giving my email ID, my name, and password, and then I say that I click agree to the terms and conditions. And if you want, you might also sign up for the monthly newsletters because they are good and you also get to know a lot of new and nice announcements. And then I simply click on sign up, and it's working in the background to sign me up, and it has signed me in, and that is it. So if you want, you can save your password or click on never save. So you see that I have logged into my account to Hemantika Mitra, and as a typical developer, I like dark themes, so I'll just switch to a dark theme, and this is what the
Nice.
console looks. Yes. So for somebody who is new to app rights, for somebody like you who is trying app for the first time, this is how exactly the console will look for you. And if you scroll down, you see that there are some resources for you, like there is docs, there is a support channel, there is links to our community, and everything that you need. And the demo that I will be showing is to create a to-do app with React. So just to know what a to-do React means, as I mentioned while explaining what Appwrite does, we will be needing an authentication. That means we need to have something that takes in my name, email ID, password that signs me up. And when I use that exact, the name and the password or the email and the password, it signs me in. And now that I'm inside the app, the app inside must have a text box so that I can, put in my to-do list that, okay, today is 14th of September and this is the tech skill that I will learn for the next 7 days. This can be your to-do list or this can be somebody else's to-do list as well. So basically for to-do list, what you need is a text box. And for the button to sign you in, for the to-do list to save all of these data, the front end will be done by React. But when it comes to the back end, this is where we will be using Appwrite. And to use Appwrite, like any other platform that you must have used before, you have an option where you need to create a project. So all that I need to do here is click on create project and give it a name. For example, I name it as React to do. Name it as what you want or what's relative to your app. And then I click on create, and you see that we have our project created. And from our project you'll see that this one shows a graph which shows that how many requests we made, how many documents are there, how many storage we have used, the number of users, executions, connections, and everything that you want will appear here. But for this particular demo, what we want to create is a web app. And also before
Yeah.
going to adding a web app and going to creating it, you'll see on the left hand side, we have the option that is a database, storage, authentication, functions, API keys, webhooks, and all the services that we have in Appwrite is available on the left hand side. We'll be using this, but first what we need to do is to add the web app. So I'll scroll down and maybe I'll also zoom it a bit. I hope this is fine.
It's
And
good.
then I'll Great, thank you. So I click on add platform. And for this particular example, we are building a web app. So I'll just add a web app. And maybe I can name it as React app. And I can give it a host name as React app dot person dot app. So all of these for this particular demo, it will be on running on localhost. But if you want to go a step ahead, what you can do is you can host it somewhere, be it Netlify, or there is Heroku. So if you go, this is the repository that I am following, and I'll be providing you links for that. So you see that this is these are the hosting providers that Appwrite supports. So there is Heroku, there is Netlify, there is DigitalOcean. So you can go ahead and use any of them to host your app. Going back to our Appwrite console, so we have added our web app. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to go to our database, because our database will contain all the content that we'll be having in our app, in a to-do app, and plus it will also be having our data so that we can sign in and sign up and all of those. So for that, if you see, it has absolutely no database, so we need to create one database. So I click on create database and I give it a name, maybe app data. So it's on caps lock, app data, and I click on create. Now our database has been created. If you go to the settings here, you'll see that we have an ID. Copy it and keep it, paste it somewhere, or you can always come back to the console and click paste it from here, because these are the IDs that we will be needing to make a connection to Appwrite, which I will be showing you shortly. So going back to the this page, this is where we were. So now that we have a database, we need to have a collection of data. So the collection is basically what something that will contain our data. Let's say we have a glass, so we can consider that to be a collection, and inside it is the water that we drink from. So glass is the collection, the water is the data that we add to it. So similarly here, all that we need to do is just click on add collection, give it a name, maybe something like data, and click on create. So if you see here, we are redirected to the permissions page. So here in the permissions page, we see that there are different types of permissions that we can add. And for this particular example, the kind of permission we need is the for the read and write access should be with to your to the person who signs up and signs in. That means that the permission should be to the member only. So I go ahead and add role member. And what is the kind of permission they have? They have create and read. And maybe you can put in all the other permissions as well,
Yep,
that update and delete
we can just do it.
permissions will be there as well,
Yeah.
because anytime we have a app like this, CRUD operations are needed for such apps. So you just go ahead and do it and click on update. By the way, that reminds me, what you are seeing is, so we are seeing for the first time as well, because this is the latest version of Appwrite 1.0. So you're actually seeing, it's kind of release watch party. It can be considered as one of that as well. Great.
It's
So now we have
actually
the,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yes,
exactly.
they
I
want,
think for now we can kind of set the any role as well if we need to, like for the purposes of the demo.
exactly. I think we can do it as
Yeah,
any, and then also, you know,
because
give them
with
all the
member, what's gonna
options.
happen is like with member,
Yeah,
what will happen is we'll need to have a defined team as well beforehand, from what I understand. Um,
exactly.
so and then with specific user, we might need users, but I
Mhm.
think there should be a more general role. If you can just click back on member,
If
just
we
remove
see
member
here,
once. If you can
maybe I
just remove
can
member
see here.
once, there should
There's
be
a user,
users.
there's a team. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
users
there are
should
guests.
let us. So user is going to let us do it for any authenticated user, so we can remove member entirely. Member would work with a specific
Amazing.
team. There, yeah.
Yeah.
So we can
So
give users all the roles, and we can remove some of them from any. So an unauthenticated user cannot.
update or delete or create, they can only read
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
think that should be good. and then we can go ahead and update it. So permissions are updated. And now what we do is we go back to our documents. So this is where the part comes where we need to add an attribute. So an attribute is as simple as the heading. Let's say, if you remember the game of name, place, animal, thing that we used to play in our childhood. So name, place, animal, thing, they can be considered as the attribute. And inside all of these, we have the names, we have the name of the places, the name of the things, animals, so on and so forth. So for this particular example, we need to create two types of attribute. The first is a string type. It will, it will keep our content of the to-do app. So I click on add attribute, and from here I click on new string attribute. So the attribute ID, that is basically the name of the attribute, is content. And the size for this particular example, I'm keeping it as 255, and it should be required because in the to-do app, if you do not have content, what is the app used for? So I click on create, and we have the content attribute created. The next thing that we need to do is have a Boolean attribute. So what, and name it as is complete. So it asks if this one is completed or not. And it's not a required value, so we can keep it as it is and just click on create. So you must be wondering, okay, that's a lot of steps, and I'm reading about it or hearing about Appwrite for the first time. Like I mentioned, you don't really need to worry about any of it because we have it all here in the repository, and I'll just put the link to it. So now comes the part where I'll show you that how we actually, make a connection with Appwrite and then, spin up the app for you. So what you need to do is you basically need to fork it. So I have already forked it. So what I'll do is I'll go to my repositories, and then let me find, yes, it's here. So you see that my fork repository is here, and like any other code that you have probably contributed to, you need to fork it so that you can make changes on your branch, and then maybe, then maybe you need to click raise a pull request or do what's required. So for this particular example, what we'll do is we'll click the code, and copy and paste it. And now we'll go back to our editor, any editor of your choice. And what you'll do is you will basically get cloned. So I'll open the terminal up here. And what I generally do is I have, I'll CD it into my developments. Oh, sorry. First, and what I need to do is to CD it to my desktop. And within desktop, I have a folder where I keep all the, all my repositories stored. So it's in development. And now that it's in development, what I'll do is I'll just git clone and paste the link. And probably I'll also zoom it a bit so that you can see the commands that I'm running here. And I'll just press on enter, and I'll wait for it to be cloned. And as you can see that it has been cloned, and all that we need to do is go to file and open this folder. This folder is there in my desktop, development, and demo to do with React, and then I just open it. So that is it. As soon as I cloned it, I see that all the files that I need are here. The next step that I need to do is to make, so the front end part is here. The next part where I actually add Appwrite to this particular app, where I use the database, where I use the authentication and all of it. This is for this particular thing, we just need to do one more step, and we need to have a .env file. So a .env file, basically what it does is it has all the environment variables stored for you, and it's by convention it's a good practice to have all your secrets or all such data which is sensitive in .env file, so that when you're contributing it or when you're committing to GitHub, it is not exposed and you can just ignore it. So what I'll do is I'll simply just copy the content that is here, and I'll go and make another .env file, and I'll paste the contents from here, and the app endpoint, the project ID, collection ID, all of these I'll be getting from the console. So I go back here and I go back to my console, and I go to settings. I have my project ID. So I go and paste it here in React project. And the next thing that I need is my API endpoints. So I paste and sorry, copy and paste it here. And the next two things that I need is a collection ID and a database ID. So for that, I go back to my database. I click on my database and I go to settings here and I have my database ID. So I just put my database ID here, and the next and the last step to make the connection is to copy and paste the collection ID. So I come here to my collection and I click on my collection, which is named as data, which has these attributes as content and is complete. And then I go to settings, and from here I get the collection ID. That is it. I just paste it here and my .env file is completed. Now that I have put in all the secrets, what it will do is it will help me make a connection to Appwrite. So what I need is to have all the dependencies and all the libraries to be installed. So for that, what I'll do is I'll just use this simple command npm install, and I'll wait for a while it is downloading everything or installing everything for me. And I think it should be ready in a minute. Okay, I see that it's here. The next thing that I need to do is use the command npm start. And you see so it has opened the localhost app for me. This is the to-do app. This is what it will look like. And what you can do from here is you can go to get started. You can put in your email, a password name, something like, I'm putting in an easy password for now. Yeah, easy passwords are not taken. Put in the hard password.
Did you sign up?
Oops, yeah. So first
Yeah,
what I need
that's
to
what I
do
was
is,
thinking.
this is a demo gods. It happens. I'm lucky
I
that
mean,
this
if a demo is
demo
not going
ran.
wrong, it's not a hackathon, is it?
It's not exactly. And yeah, so basically you just need to sign up, and
Yeah.
that is it. I have signed up, and maybe I can write what to do today, build with Appwrite, and put it here. So this is your to-do app, a simple and very easy to use to-do app. And this is where you put in your notes and you can log out. And this is what you can show your friends that, hey, I built something cool and in a few minutes. So as you can see that this is in localhost right now. And like I mentioned, if you want, what you can do is you can go back to our repository, that is a demo to do with React. You can follow the steps from here, and you can either deploy it in on DigitalOcean or Heroku or Netlify, or most of these are the providers that we support. But you're free to go ahead and try with other providers if you know. And this is just an example to show you how to create a project, how to add a database, and all of it. But if you go to the code here under SRC and in API, and you will see that we have a file called api.js where we are making a connection to Appwrite, setting the endpoint, where we are creating an account, that is with create account, where we are getting the account, creating a session for the login session, and we are doing a lot of other tasks like creating a document, listing the document, updating the document. So you must be wondering that, okay, that's a huge line of code, and how do I do that? So what we did at Appwrite, and Aditya and I have probably mentioned it a lot of times, we have made it very simple for you to use. So what you do is you simply go to appwrite.io, you click on a documentation, that is docs, and from here, if you scroll down, you'll see that we have account, databases, and all of these. So
By
all
the
that you
way,
need to do
for
is,
for
yeah,
for all the different major SDKs and frameworks, we've also got the guides separately as well. So for web, for example,
exactly.
if we just scroll up and go to Appwrite for web, on the
Yeah.
top, on the left side, actually under
Okay,
instructions and
yeah,
getting
Appwrite for
started.
it.
Yeah.
Correct.
So we've
Yeah,
also got some of the essentials here, right? Like uh, how to add your web platform, how to initialize your SDK, how to install the SDK as well, by the way. And if you don't want to use npm
exactly.
and get it via a CDN instead, you'll also get how you can do that. And then, after that, we've also got code snippets here as well. So um, the fundamentals
Exactly.
around how to make an account and so on, you can access here as well directly.
Yes, now that you know how to make, your web platform, so the next step will probably be how you can create a session, how you can create or add users. So for that as well, we have code snippets, and what you can do is you can basically just, copy it, use it in your code, make connections, and it will be ready. So that was all for the React to do app demo that I wanted to show. Now over to you,
Awesome.
Aditya, if you want to show some resources, some community
Yeah.
guidelines, or something exciting. Over to you.
I'm just gonna bring my screen back up in a second. Um, but yeah, that was a fantastic demo. Thank you so much for that, Hemantika. I think it was definitely very insightful, not just for them, for me as well. I was listening just as much through and through. Let me quickly bring back my slideshow once, back from where we started, right? So I'm just gonna share my screen now. It should be up. It's visible, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, awesome. So, we were building with Appwrite, and that's covered. So, next up, some resources that we used, that we discussed. First of all, we've got the Appwrite docs that you can use, that you should definitely look at. In case you want to build with Appwrite, it's a fantastic place to get started. Um, and, it's essentially where you'd find all the information you need, right? Secondly, the demo to do React app that we used is available at the repository on the second link, that is github.com/apprite/demo hyphen to do hyphen with hyphen React. You can go over there as well. And that was the React app we used essentially in this demo. So feel free to check that out and see what exactly is running under the hood there. And thirdly, we've got 30 days of Appwrite, which is a 30-day structured um, plan that lets you learn how you can work with Appwrite. We've got 30 different blogs covering different concepts and topics, and it's the best way to get consistently started and proficient with Appwrite. Just by the way, you can do it in more than 30 days. There's no such limitation, but it's designed in a way where you can go a single topic a day if you'd like as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, staying in touch. Of course, if you want to learn more about Appwrite and you want to stay in touch with us, with our community and the team, not just to learn, but in case you have any doubts or feedback, our Discord community is the perfect place to go. It is available at appwrite.io/Discord. You can also scan the QR code available here to get till there. It'll take you directly to our Discord server. Okay. So, just when you're looking at the video, you can scroll through and find it whenever you want. And aside from that, of course, we're very active on Twitter and on our GitHub.
Yeah.
Those are the perfect places to connect with us. So do go ahead, show a little love, give a little follow, and a star on GitHub. That'll always be nice. That being said, I guess that brings us to the end. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much for being so patient listeners. And yeah, that's all.
we covered a lot, I know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Samriti, so sorry to interrupt. I think there might be a little mic issue. I'm not
Yeah.
able to hear you clearly. Do you want to change your mic maybe, or just disconnect and
Plug
reconnect
it
it
out.
once?
Yeah.
Because there's some noise there, but it's the volume was lower. It was a little muddled.
Hello, can you hear
Yeah.
me
It's
now?
far better now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
So I just said that first of all, wonderful and presentation and very clear, very concise.
Thank you.
And observed that you guys answered all the questions in the comments simultaneously. So maybe one of you would like to just summarize everything that you said, like in a small,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Who
Sure.
Yeah.
would like to go
I,
first?
I,
Maybe.
I mean, I can do that. We
Okay,
started
sure,
off
sure.
discussing what exactly Appwrite is, why it even is necessary, what problems developers face that Appwrite is trying to solve. We then went on to what services Appwrite has, how exactly it runs under the hood, um, why it's great, And after that, we went on to learn how we can set up Docker and Appwrite on a Linux based system. We took the same link for Appwrite, we set up our account on it, looked at different services like the database, and then we took that to our demo application, our demo React app, which we then tried integrating.
Okay.
So, yeah,
So,
that's
yeah,
about as concise I can get with that.
definitely, definitely. Thank you for that. And it was really, really wonderful. And I can't wait to see how many people are going to use Appwrite in the actual hackathon. We have
Keeping my
comments.
fingers crossed, yeah. I mean, just by the way, I saw a question around the swags as well. I can't promise too much swags right now, but I mean, if you want some nice
Yeah.
stickers, meet us at the venue.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
I think
Definitely.
I'll
I'm
plug.
gonna be carrying stuff.
Hmm. Sorry?
I think I plug in something, Aditya. So he mentioned that
Oh
he's not going to
yes.
carry a lot of it, but I also just plugged in a link right now on the YouTube chat. So our
Mm-hmm.
release just happened,
So
and
just a note on that. I
yeah.
think links may not go in from personal accounts. The moderators from the
Oh,
account may have to send those in. So I guess if you want to send it in the
okay.
private chat.
Yes, I have sent that in the private chat. And that being said, that at Appwrite we just had our first stable version, release. That is what I was just demoing you. So you got the first peek
Yeah.
peek of sneak peek of how the Appwrite for 1.0 version looks. And regarding that, we'll also be having a lot of giveaways and fun stuff planned. So if you want to be a part of it, be sure to join the Discord community. It's appwrite.io/discord.
Definitely, Hemantika. Although I would just like to ask one question. Do anchors also get any giveaways or something? You
Well, if
have
you
to
meet me, you never
Everybody
know.
is welcome to participate.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, you should definitely meet me whenever
definitely,
you can.
definitely.
Yeah, because I carry around some stuff here and there, and I know we've got activities coming up where we're gonna have some really cool swags. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it will be lovely to connect with you there. So, okay, with that, it's 7 o'clock. Should we end our session now?
Definitely.
Or
yeah,
is there
sounds good. I mean,
okay?
let's last call maybe if
Yeah.
there are any last queries that anyone has.
Mhm.
Yes, of course. If anyone has any more questions, they can put them in the comments. We can wait for just like a few more minutes, 2 3 minutes. Give the
Yep.
people time to like text. Although I believe that our generation has the capacity to text while like literally not even looking at the phone.
Oh yeah,
I think I'm from an older
absolutely.
generation.
No, no, no. I meant just
Yeah.
everyone born after 2000s. Oh, sorry. Shit.
Yeah, I was
Oh, so
born
you
before it.
just so
You
I
just
am
called
now
me
in the
old.
kid category and she's in the old category. Very
I'm
nice.
making it
Yeah.
worse. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind being in the kid category, so that's okay by me.
Okay, so
Your
we
sacred is
have a
banned.
question. Yeah, yeah. Please answer
Um,
this.
all right. So, in case your SendGrid is banned, very sorry about that. You can use Mailgun if you want.
Yeah.
Mailgun lets you create a similar sort of, you know, it's again SMPP as a service. So that's another email API you can try out. I'm not sure about the pricing though, but you can
Yeah.
definitely look into that. Then of course there are some other alternatives as well, right? Like I've heard of some names like Send in Blue and all, but I think after SendGrid, the big one that I've heard of is Mailgun, so you should definitely check that out.
Okay. Thank you, Aditya. Thank you for answering yet another question that seems so tough to me.
No worries. No, I've
Okay,
worked with
so
SendGrid in the past because, I've
okay.
explored alternatives and,
Yeah.
like, I mean, we tried some demo Appwrite cloud functions and integrations in the past. So that's the only reason. By the way, you can always integrate all of these external services in whatever way you want. Whenever you're using Appwrite as well, you just need to create a cloud function for that. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
yep,
Thank you. Thank you. Okay,
you
so
can do it all with Appwrite.
definitely, the Appwrite seems like a very good solution to a lot of problems that our hackers will be facing. So I
Yeah.
really hope that people
Yes.
will gather some information and like use it in the
Compete for
upcoming.
the prize. Compete for the prize. That's what I want.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely. Competition is going to run very high that
Oh
day,
yeah. It's
both the
gonna be
days.
fun.
It's going to be fun.
Okay.
I'll see it on video.
Oof.
Okay,
Yeah.
so anything else you would like to add, Hemantika? Would you like to add anything?
I think we are good. And if anybody has any additional questions, you can either ping us on Discord or on our like Twitter alternatives, sorry, Twitter profile links. We have our usernames here on the screen as well, and we have also shared our
Yeah.
usernames. Yeah, it's here. It was there in the slide. So we all of us, me, Aditya, anybody from the team, Appwrite team, we are always just a text away. So any doubts, be sure to ping us.
Okay,
Yeah.
definitely. And then on that note, if for our information related to HTM, you guys can visit the link showing in the banner below, where you'll find everything related to our upcoming webinars, workshops. Well, now it's almost going to be the second last
Just
session.
at the finish
And
line. Yeah.
sorry,
Just at the finish line.
I could not hear you. I'm so
Sorry, I was
sorry.
saying just at the finish line.
Yeah, just like 2, 3 more days to go, and
Yeah.
we'll have the offline session on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
So we'll be having hackathon in hybrid mode, and we are going to have the offline session of HTM at Manav Rachna International University on 17th and 18th September, and we really hope to see all of you there and do use Appwrite in while developing your what do you call programs.
Solutions,
um
Yep.
anything.
yeah, so okay, anything. So we really hope that you will use Appwrite for that. And you can also follow our Instagram page for regular updates on hackathon. And with this, we would like to end our session today. Thank you so much, Aditya. Thank you so much, Imantika, today for joining us. And it was really wonderful to chat with you both. And you guys were really, really very jovial and very nice to talk to.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.